Hi, everyone. This is hour 21 of my 24-hour, um, 24 and 24 for Sam's challenge, where I am either speaking on a topic, which I'm doing now, or having a guest or co host discuss or have a conversation about topics that really matter. The reason why I'm doing this is because today, 24th of July 247, we are. What I want to do is to raise visibility of um, the things that Samaritans are doing. And I've been a listening volunteer for the last 17 years. I joined before my boys were born, and they celebrated their 16th birthday yesterday. So, I feel a bit old. And what I want to do was to, number one, fundraise, and number two, also to create a space that we can talk about things, important things, um, because I think when we're going through a tough time and there are lots of intense emotional feelings, if you don't get to talk about it, the weight on our shoulders is really heavy, and we don't know actually that maybe somebody else is going through something similar, and could have helped us feel a little lighter, which is what talking about things is all about. Now, you might be wondering why I might have baited and switched on you. So, the current session, I had a guest, and we were going to talk about abusive relationships, and she's now not able to make the session, which is fine. I feel so grateful that I put a call out last week to say, hey, I have this idea of doing a talk every hour for 24 hours. Who want to come in, be a co-host, and keep me up, help me stay awake? And actually, so many people stepped up and said, can we talk about this topic instead? um, Grief, suicide, neurodiversity, burnout, mental health, so many topics, so many deep personal conversations I've had since midnight this morning. And the one that kind of hits closer to home was about abusive relationships. And Raksha at about 2 a.m. in the morning, or 3 a.m. in the morning, have touched on about it, and how making poor choice and selecting someone to be your partner um, have caused her to lose her baby. And I have gone through it as well. Um and one of the things that, before I start on my topic today, I just thought that I would just share this little thing. um like many people, when I was much younger and I saw women in abusive relationships, I would think, oh, why doesn't she just walk away? If she stays, it's her fault. It would never happen to me. But then it did. And like a lot of similar stories, it starts very innocuously. You have a partner who's with you and showers you with a lot of love, and they'll say things like, oh, I love you so much. I can't bear the thought of you um, talking to this other guy. I just want you all to myself. And initially things like this sound very sweet, and you can kind of get drawn in. And that was what happened to me. And it was a really not a great time. It was during my university years as well. And through maybe I'm if I were very honest, if something didn't happen, I don't know if I would have left. But what happened was that he cheated the wrong people. So a group of guys from university came and kind of roughed him up a little bit, and that was where I saw the opportunity to actually leave. But if that didn't happen, I wouldn't know. So I now have much deeper empathy for those who are trapped in this situation. And it's not there's a lot to it. There's psychology. You have people um, who know how to keep their control on you. And I love the fact that in the UK we just passed the law that coercion is against the law. It is making you do things against your will. So for example, I was made to cut off all relationships with my brother, my family, my friends, my cousins, and things like that. It was just these sort of things. If I think back, this happened over 30 years ago, but they still cast a very long shadow. So I just wanted to say, to anyone who's going through this, one of the things that stopped me from talking was the shame. I went against my parents to, against their advice. And so, I got disowned, and it was like, so where do I turn now? And it's such a shameful thing to feel, um, to say I was wrong. Can I come home, mom? And luckily my mom at that point, she let me come home, and she didn't ask any further questions. But what I wanted to say is, sometimes you don't know when people are in this sort of relationship. Outwardly it looks fine. During COVID, I think domestic violence went up because there was just so much frustration, and people weren't able to go out and release that frustration, and they take it out on those at home. Um, so I wanted to say that if you are in that situation, please reach out for help. And Raksha, earlier on, and I think hopefully, Raksha, can you help me do that? Just post the national helpline for domestic violence. Please reach out to people. There are organizations that are ready to help you. And I was kind of looking forward to this particular session to have that conversation with my guest, but she wasn't able to. So I still feel like, it's a topic that I just wanted to share, because it might help somebody else. So that, that's my little story. What I wanted actually to present right now is something that I presented, my very first talk that I gave at London's Calling in 2020. So this was during COVID. During COVID, I got this talk accepted, and the wonderful Amanda Beard Nielsen. She's no longer with us, but she was. It was the first time I was talking public speaking, and she recorded this. She was there. She made sure that I felt comfortable in front of the camera that was being recorded. It's the first time they were doing it virtual. So this is this will be my this was my very first public speaking talk in the Salesforce ecosystem. So you'll see the style is very different from those others that I have given so far. So I've kept it as close to the original as possible. So it's how being a Samaritan's volunteer helped make me a better project manager. So I'm hoping to share a little bit of this with you. So, the two key takeaways that I'd like you to take away is one, a six-digit number. And this is more relevant for those of you in the UK, and how to close a gap. And I'll talk about this gap towards the end, so you kind of understand where I am with this. So, what Samaritans? You will have heard me talk about it if you've been following me throughout the last 24 hours. We are a nonprofit. We are a charity that is there for our callers in crisis. The six-digit number is that 116123. It's 24/7. You can see it's day or night. excuse me, I make my children memorize this number, because if they can't talk to me, I want to make sure that there is someone that they can talk to. So we are here for our callers, whatever they're facing, because at one point we were only known as the suicide hotline, but now we know that for a lot of people, um, if for those of our callers in crisis, if there were if they were listened to much earlier, before they got to that point, the crisis would not happen. So now we are also there for anyone who's going through, just a really tough time, not necessarily feeling suicidal. There's our 6-digit number. It is a free phone in the UK, and it won't appear on any phone bill, which is really important, especially I mentioned for situations with domestic violence, and people who may need to call and not have evidence appear in the phone bill. We also do email. So I do emails, and also web chat, although web chat is a limited service. There's still the technology is still being ironed out, so it's not 24/7 for the web chat. We have around 20,000 volunteers. I think this is a 2022. No, it can't be. Sorry. It's a 2020 statistics, because obviously I gave this talk in 2020. I would like to think that we have more now. We have about 220 branches all around UK and Ireland, and we're there to listen and to be there for our callers. So how do we do it? How do we listen? So earlier on today, I have talked about how to listen, and I talked about the shush technique. So these are some tips on how to listen to people. But for us, we have this thing called the listening wheel. It's more tactical. So these are the tools that we have. Actually, we have that as a mouse mat, so that it's always there. So the very first thing is reacting. So when someone is telling us, sharing a vulnerable story, we show that we've listened by reacting. So that sounds very difficult for you. It sounds like you're going through a tough time. So it tells the caller that we are empathetically listening. We use open questions to help the caller explore their feelings and their thoughts. We summarize, so that when we are going through something and we are feeling a lot of intense emotions, a lot of times we are, feelings and thoughts are all jumbled together. And when they first come on the call, they will just, just throw out all these feelings and the thoughts that they're having. And what we can do as listeners is that we pay attention, we react, we ask open questions that are clarifying, and then we summarize what we've heard. And sometimes the act of summarizing what we've heard, will help the caller think, oh, okay, so you have just reflected to me what I've just said, and maybe I was overreacting, or I can see clearly now what I need to do next. I had a little drawing that I put together in one of my previous talks, where um, it's like a tumble dryer with all the clothes drying and all mixed up. So that's how we feel when things are so intense. And by listening, all we're doing is helping them take out each piece of clothes and laying them out, so that they can see their feelings and they have a more structured, it doesn't seem so messy. So summarizing is a really good listening tool, to help the speaker kind of like organize their thoughts and their feelings. Next, we have reflecting. Okay, so reflecting is where when the caller is finding it challenging, or they don't know how to say the next thing, especially if they're still processing. Reflecting here is just repeating the last one or two words, and it's quite magical. It kind of like kickstarts them again. there's another there is another definition of reflecting, which is used by Chris Voss. He have been an FBI negotiator for hostages and tense situations. He calls it labeling and reflecting, which is sometimes when you get a sense that the other person's um, words and the non-verbals or the body language doesn't quite gel, and you want to clarify that. So what you say is this: I'm getting a sense that even though you say that you are fine, but your body language is telling me that you're not fine. I might be mistaken here. Can you just tell me if I'm a million miles away, or I'm getting it right? So what you're doing is you are articulating the dissonance that you see, the fact that the body language and verbals just don't match, and you're allowing the other person to clarify, to tell you if you're right or if you're wrong, and also gives them face. If oh, fine, right, just do whatever you want, I'll go with it, I don't care anymore. Then you can say, hey, you say you don't care anymore, but it sounds to me like you care very deeply. Can you just tell me a little bit more? I want to make sure that I understand where you're coming from. So his definition of reflecting, I like very much, and I use that in my conversations, because a lot of people still uh, 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 tr- um, don't always say what they mean, but usually their body language or their non-verbals would um, tell you that there's something not quite right there. So that's how I take away what reflecting means. Clarifying. So clarifying is a very, very important tool. We never ever assume. So one of the things that we do at SAMS is that every time we get a call, we must find out, or as far as possible, whether the caller has had thoughts of suicide. And how we do that is we pay very attention to the words that they use, and we listen out for what we call trigger phrases. And trigger phrases are things like, I can't go on anymore. I don't want to wake up tomorrow. I wish I could just disappear. And clarifying questions are things like, when you say you don't want to wake up anymore, what do you mean by that? When you say you want the pain to end, what do you mean? Do you mean you just want to go to sleep, and then in 2 months after the exams you wake up and everything's fine? Or do you really not want to be here anymore, as in you want to end your life? So we are always trying to find clarity. We don't assume, we don't pussy about with the questions. At 1 a.m. this morning, oh my goodness, that was so long ago, I had a conversation about suicide with lovely Nicole from Australia, where we talk about demythifying. By asking someone if they have had thoughts of suicide does not plant a seed. This is the research shows categorically that you cannot give them the idea that they have not already had it. They won't go, oh, actually, yeah, why don't I just go and do that? That would just end all the problems and all the gambling debts or whatever issues that are. No. If they say yes, they're thinking about it, they will have thought about it for a while now. And you asking them, you clarifying what they're feeling, because they're likely to have said this, you know, amongst their friends or family. I can't take this anymore. This is impossible. I just want this all to end. But the people in their lives will take it as just a throwaway comment. We don't do that. We ask clarifying questions. So when you say you don't want to be here anymore, tell me, really how you're feeling. And most of the times, if they have had suicidal thoughts and feelings, they are likely to be relieved that they can actually talk to someone who won't judge them, who will actually listen to them, and who won't try to solve their problem or try to change their minds, right? So I think it's really important. This is something that we do, and also that I take it outside to my professional life. I'm always clarifying. If you're in project management, if you're in consulting, if you're in business analysis, and you're gathering client requirements to build a system, don't assume. Really, really, really don't assume. The requirements that you write, you need to think about them as contractual clauses. You're going to build this robot with the 3 wheels and 6 kind of like legs or whatever it is, and that's what you want clarity. You don't ever want to assume. So that's a really good tool in our toolkit. Next, we have short words of encouragement. So obviously, at SAMS, we are on the phone, we're listening. All we have is a voice. How do they know that we're still there, we're still engaged? We have to say, just make some sounds to tell them that that you're listening. Now, if you're face to face with someone, obviously they can see if you're engaged, or if you're on your phone, or if you're looking elsewhere, or things like that. But on the phone, this is really important. Short words of encouragement. And finally, the silence is something that a lot of people feel very, very uncomfortable about. And one of the things that we say is that on our calls, silence usually belongs to our callers. That's because they are trying to share something difficult, and they're usually trying to process what they're trying to say. Are they finding the right words to say so that you don't judge them for whatever it is that they want to share? So give them that space. A lot of new volunteers ask me, so how much silence should I give them? And I'll say, give them a few heartbeats. When you're having a human to human connection conversation on the phone, you get into a rhythm, into a sense of their pace. So, as slightly related is that what I found is that my tone is usually, I try to keep it low and slow, because if I have a caller who is panicking, who is in a very high emotional state, usually they will follow my pace. So by being low and slow, they will calm down as well, and we can have a conversation, and we will be able to develop a rapport, and I can instinctively feel like the pace of their heartbeat. uh, it's not scientific, by the way, by any means. Sorry, just don't take this as scientific. This is something that I've kind of learned. And so my silence is usually after they've said something. I will give it a couple of heartbeats, and then I might come in with another question, or I might just reflect and just repeat the last word or phrase to kind of like jog them into moving on a little bit. So for this particular talk, the first one I did for London's Calling, which was recorded in 2020, I had my a bit about me in the middle of the talk. So this is where I talk about the listening wheel, and the bit about me. And if you've been following my talk so far, this is where I say, oh, look, I've been, in tech industry for over 30 years. The first part was as a front-facing, client-facing technical functional consultant, and the last part as a second half of my career as a project manager. And this is the thing that I feel most proud about, which is I have been a Samaritan's volunteer for about 17 years. So the first part, I was in a different branch to my current branch, and I started before my boys were born, and they, my twin boys turned 16 yesterday, so it's about 17 years now. So um, when when they were a bit younger, I roped them into all sorts of shenanigans. And this is a little picture I took of them. They came and they helped me. What we did was we were wrapping Christmas presents for donations. And I think they've forgotten about this now, and I don't think they'll do it anymore, now that they're hulking teenagers and they have their own opinions about, how they spend their time. So, with that, okay, let me share with you some of the things that I've learned as a volunteer. So obviously, the first one was how to listen, how to really be present um, with my team, with my client. Okay, so I give you a little hack as a project manager. What I found from a consulting point of view, I usually give my client, so my peer on the client side, so the client side project manager or product owner or platform manager, I give them half an hour that I don't bill. So usually it is before the day begins. So it could be from 7:30 to 8, and it's on our diary. They know that I don't bill. I'll tell you why in a minute. If my company found out that they might have some words, but what I tell them is, this half an hour belongs to you. Talk to me about the things that keep you up at night. What's my team doing that you think we could do better? What are the things that you are doing that maybe I could help you do better? So, for large size projects, they are usually got, on the client side, there's a lot of politics, a lot of stakeholder management. And usually the project manager or platform owner, they don't have a peer to complain or to vent to. And many are happy to vent to me, to tell me about the challenges that they're having, or tell me about the things that they wish we could do better, our relationship could be better. So I might say, okay, let's switch up. For next sprint, we'll do things differently, we'll deploy it a different way, we'll use this different sandbox and this different sequence or something like that. We'll find a way to make things easier. The other thing that I do, and it feels like a small thing, but I've been told that it's big for them. So usually in a program transformation, what we do in the Salesforce implementation is but one of multiple projects that they have to report on to their program board. And so what I usually say, so I as a PM have to present my status report. And usually it'll be like, in our template, in our ways of doing things. But what I found is, if I offer to them to do my update in their format so that they can present straight away to program board without having to do any jiggery pokery, I'll do that. I said, I'll change my status report from a Tuesday to a Thursday, or to the day before you got to do your presentation, so I can do part of your work for you. I'll do a presentation, and then you just take that slide, and then you can, pass along that. And what I found is this little thing, this little half an hour every day, every week, so to speak. We form a bond where it's no longer us and them. It's all of us is in this journey together. So I'm listening to them. They're listening to me. So any challenges that we have, it's not a consulting partner problem. It's our problem. And what I found really amazing is that most of the time, we hit a big problem. So Salesforce has the summer release. Is there a summer? Yeah, the summer release has you can tell I'm quite tired. Has broken something. The SSO, the single sign-on, the security, or something like that. And it's not our fault. It's something that happened, but it needs to be fixed. And the fix might cost a lot more. That's beyond the budget. And we got to take it up to the program board. And what I found is that they usually on our side, and they're arguing, they're defending the kind of recommendations that we're putting forward. And that's what you want, when you are consulting and you got a client, you want to be in one team. So I got better at how to listen. I got better at how to not to be judgmental. Like I said before, judgment can be found in the words, not only in the words, but in the way you say things. Like, really? Why? Just these two words have got so much judgment, as in, why would you do that? Are you dumb or something? Who told you? When somebody hears judgment, either in the words or in the non-verbals, they shrink and they don't want to tell you anything anymore, right? So I've learned to be non-judgmental, and my team kind of loves me for it, and so do my clients as well, and that kind of greases the relationship. I learned how to be patient, because not everyone is able to have the words readily available to describe their feelings, their thoughts, and to be able to articulate the messiness that they might be going through. Because as humans, we're messy, and we're just not perfect in the way we operate. So how to be patient, how to ask questions, and to probe gently, so that we peel back any assumptions, um, so that we truly understand what's going on. How to help the caller explore options, or our clients explore options, some of which may not be palatable as well. How to reframe things, to put things in a different perspective with a different lens, so that our caller, or whoever we're listening to or talking to, can have a shift in the mindset. Now, this next thing I want you to this next thing I learned, which is the biggest impact, and I hope this is one of the things that you're going to take away, right? And one key thing that I've learned is unhappiness is reality minus expectations, and that is the key source of conflict for many things. So I expect my husband to cook me dinner every night. So, and if he doesn't, I'm unhappy, right? So, but did he promise this when we got married? If yes, then he's the one who set the wrong expectations. So good project management, actually I should say good relationship management, is down to managing expectations. Okay, how do I apply all of this to project management? So I want to tell you about a little project that Google did, right? So it was called Project Aristotle. Okay, and what they wanted to find out was what makes an effective Google team, right? And so they did a lot of research. They looked at 180 active Google teams, looked at traits like the big five. I'm trying to think now: openness. Um, I can't remember five of them. Neuroticism, and so on, and a lot of other things. I think they also looked at um, horoscope, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a really interesting study. It was about 2 years. They had many interviews trying to think about what is the one thing that all high performing team has. And what they came up with was psychological safety, on top of being dependable, that the team have structure and clarity. They know what they're doing. There's meaning in the work that they do, and they are creating an impact. Number one is psychological safety. It is the ability to be who you are, to come up with ideas and to make mistakes, so that innovation can happen, and it can just be safe and be free. And this creates trust, right? So allowing people to share more and share deeper. And this one, when you are listening to someone, helps you understand their worldview, because it's only when they feel safe they can tell you what's going on, even if it might not be the most politically correct thing. They will tell you because they feel safe that you're not going to belittle them. And once they do that, once you know why they're upset, what are the things that are motivating them, you can then find a way to align goals so that we can achieve our common objective together. Now, I told you in the beginning that I'll talk about closing the gap. So this is what I'm going to talk about now. And the gap is this, okay? This is expectations, because it's harking back to that formula where unhappiness equals reality minus expectation. So if I think this is where you should be and you are here or you are here, you are not meeting expectations, right? So what we need to do is we need to kind of level it up, and we need to make sure that expectations are managed. So if my husband didn't promise to make dinner every night when we got married, and it was just something I heard or something I assumed, and it's a cause of friction every night, my husband is just like, no, I'm not cooking tonight. What makes you think that I'm cooking every night? Well, I heard you talking to your best friend that that I was that this was something you would do if you got married to me. And so he might realize, oh, okay, a joke or a throwaway comment has set my expectations. Let's just manage it down a little bit. Okay, why don't I cook 3 nights a week? You cook the other 3 nights a week, and the other 2 nights. Okay, so that how many days in a week? Okay, and then we get take out, something like that, right? So we want to manage expectations. So right, we said we would deliver this project in 6 months, but this new release from Salesforce and this other thing that happened is causing a lot of issues. My architect has left and your product owner is being replaced. There's can be delays. We need to reset expectations that now it's going to cost more, it's going to take longer. And when you are continuously managing expectations, the potential conflict will become much, much less in your kind of like project flow in your relationship. So, very quickly to wrap up, right? Empathetic, non judgmental, active listening leads to psychological safety, and psychological safety leads to high performing team. Right, so those were the two key takeaways that I wanted you to remember. If you're in the UK, the 6-digit number is 116123. Call us when you're going through a tough time and you've got no one to talk to. But if you're in a good place, I would love for you to join our family. Go and Google your nearest branch, find out when's their info day, and go. It is a very worthwhile thing to do. And secondly is how to close the gap. It's managing expectations, because if you can understand that arguments and conflict comes because your expectations aren't met, then it goes a long way to helping you create better relationships. So that's that for this particular talk. Thank you, Raksha, for putting in the number for the domestic abuse helpline, and thank you, Vasanthi. Yes, I'm still going. There's another 3 to go. So, with that, I'm going to leave you, and I will see you in about 20 minutes for my next session. Oh, before I go, here, please, please, please donate to my lovely branch. It helps keeps the light on. It helps pay for the telephony, the CRM that we use, which is Salesforce, the biscuits and chocolates that keep the volunteers going all night long. And sometimes when I get a tough call, I don't care. I really need to stuff my face with that Kit Kat. It makes a big difference. Thank you. So every little helps. My target was £2,473 and 65p. So signifying 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I hope you can help me reach and smash my target. I think last I looked, I was about 650 pounds short. I think it was. So please help. I would love that very much. And with that, I am going to go and maybe see you at the next session.